In Oakville at Promation and Entropy. My name is Daryl Spector. I'm the president of Promation, and
I'm Chaz Brar. I'm the CEO of Entropy Custom Clothing.
So again, thank you for joining everybody today for this announcement. Just from our side, from my side, as a small medium enterprise running in this environment in Ontario and in Canada, this is really the engine of the economy that we feel is, this manufacturing business like ours that we share. So I just have tremendous appreciation and gratitude for the work that Minister Bethlenfalvy and Minister Fedeli have done in the work to make Ontario a real engine of the economy manufacturing-wise. And especially at this time, we're feeling like a lot of pressure, from the south and with the tariffs and trades and so on. I feel as though that the work that this government is doing is almost like, adding pressure on us, but like diamonds are made, they tend to get better under pressure. So I'm sure we're going to come out of this on top. So thank you.
For sure, and from our side as well, we're excited to have the Ontario government be so active with us as a small and medium business as well. We want to be competitive. We want to compete not only within the country, but globally. And having the support of our government is a big part of that. And we thank you for being here today and being a part of our success.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Jazz. And boy, it's not often that we get compared to diamonds, so thank you very much for that. It's great to be here in Oakville. I want to thank Daryl and Jazz, just two great champions for creating jobs, taking risk, and building successful Canadian companies over 30 years. And what a success story here. So thank you for hosting us here at your facilities. I want to also acknowledge my colleagues, the MPP for Oakville, Stephen Crawford, the MPP for Nipissing, who I'll introduce afterwards, and also to acknowledge Gary Carr, the regional chair for the Halton region, and the mayor of Oakville, Rob Burton, who's here as well. So thank you for joining us today. Ontario's workers are our province's greatest competitive advantage. Our highly skilled workforce is our backbone. But right now we face a challenge like we've not faced before. Our closest ally, the United States, has imposed tariffs on us that are challenging a relationship that was once considered unshakable. This is a challenge that none of us wanted, but we're going to have to work together to overcome it. As Minister of Finance, I've had the privilege of meeting many business owners and workers across the province. People, much like my own family, who chose to come to Canada to work and build a good life for themselves. And Canada has given them the opportunity in return. And I'm here to tell you that Canada is worth fighting for. The situation we are in today is a wake-up call. The status quo is no longer an option. Canada must do better and will do better. And I'm here to tell you that Ontario will do better. La situation dans laquelle nous nous trouvons est un signal d'alarme. Le statu quo n'est pas une solution. Le Canada doit faire mieux. Et je suis ici devant vous pour vous dire que l'Ontario fera mieux. It starts with a strong fiscal position. Thanks to our government's responsible management of the province's finances over the years, we are in a strong position to act to support workers and businesses. Our finances are in the best health they've been in decades, and we're going to use that to make the necessary investments to protect Ontario and build the economy of tomorrow. Our 2025 budget is a plan to protect Ontario, one that gets nation-building projects underway to make our economy stronger for today and for tomorrow, and gives businesses the confidence to invest, hire, and grow. In Ontario, we have world-leading advantages in critical minerals, energy, technology, talent, and infrastructure. But we need to build more, and we need to build more faster. By getting major transit, rail, mining, energy, and highway projects built faster. We're leading the nation and introduced legislation to tear down interprovincial trade barriers that open up 16 million person market to the rest of the country, to one day add as much as $200 billion to our GDP. I have to congratulate Vic Fedeli for leading that legislation in the House a few weeks ago. All of this to say our government is taking decisive action to protect Ontario's economy and Ontario's industries that drive it, like manufacturing, which we have worked tirelessly to support since 2018, like we did 2 years ago when we first introduced the Ontario-made Manufacturing Investment Tax Credit to help businesses lower costs, innovate, and become more competitive. But with U.S. tariffs putting jobs and job creators at risk, our manufacturing sector finds itself facing newfound uncertainty, and we must respond. That is why I'm here to announce that as part of the 2025 budget, our government will be looking to enhance and expand the Ontario-made Manufacturing Investment Tax Credit. We're proposing to increase the tax rate from 10% to 15% for Canadian companies and expand eligibility to include public companies who want to invest, build, and hire right here in Ontario. Altogether, this would provide roughly $1.3 billion in additional support to the sector over the next 3 years and would enable manufacturers to receive as much as $3 million per year in tax credits. This would be a major boost of confidence to the sector as it looks for certainty at a time when U.S. tariffs signal all but business as usual. And it would be a significant tool for businesses as they look for more ways to help keep their workers on the job. On May 15th, I will be releasing Ontario's 2025 budget, our strategy to protect Ontario and make it the most competitive economy in the G7 to invest. A lot of what I've shared with you today will be the focus of what our government is envisioning for Ontario's future. Le 15 mai, je rendrai public le budget de l'Ontario de 2025, notre stratégie pour protéger la province et rendre notre économie la plus compétitive et attrayante en matière d'investissement au sein du G7. Une bonne partie de ce que je vous ai présenté aujourd'hui constituera le fondement de ce que notre gouvernement envisage pour l'avenir de l'Ontario. Our ambitious, integrated, and targeted plan will detail how we aim to turn that vision into a reality that we can expect to see not within the next 100 years, but within our lifetime. In the meantime, we will continue working with our partners across the federal, provincial, and territorial governments, including First Nations, to find more ways to boost our productivity and growth potential while making the investments necessary for our well-being today and for future generations. Thank you, and I will now turn the podium over to our great MPP from Nipissing, but also our Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, my friend Vic Fedeli. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a great announcement, Peter. Well, thank you very much, Peter. This is a great move for Ontario. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Jazz, for opening your businesses up to us this morning. Morning, everybody. Great to see you all here. In the face of heightened global economic uncertainty, today's announcement affirms that our government is doubling down on our plan to protect Ontario workers and businesses. Now, more than ever, it's essential to build a stronger, more resilient, more competitive, more self-reliant Ontario. And that means focusing on the resilience of our manufacturing sector by creating a stable and reliable economic culture, by cutting red tape and bolstering interprovincial trade. We need to work closely with our businesses who are directly affected by these tariffs and with the ones who are struggling to plan for the years ahead. And Ontario is the manufacturing heartland of our country. 830,000 manufacturing jobs across just Ontario alone. So by Minister Bethlenfalvy's news today of enhancing and expanding the Ontario-made manufacturing investment tax credit, we are taking bold action to preserve, protect, and grow this vital sector and ensure that quality products made in Ontario by Ontario workers are available today and for generations to come. We need this new piece to establish a made-in-Ontario supply chain to protect the province from external disruptions and shortages that affect vital sectors like aerospace, defense, energy, and information technology. We need to position the province as the most competitive jurisdiction in the G7 for investment by showcasing our highly skilled workforce, our diversified supply chain, and, of course, the fact that we have the most competitive business climate. So as we look to help our manufacturers reach new markets across the country, our government has taken historic legislative action to allow the free flow of goods, services, and skilled workers across the country. As Minister Bethlenfalvy said, the Protect Ontario Through Free Trade Across Canada Act will, if passed, help Ontario-based manufacturers access new partners and customers all across the country. Something that you may not have seen a couple of weeks ago is some other pieces that have been put in to shield our economy from international disruptions. Items like the Ontario Together Trade Fund. That's a $50 million fund to help businesses who are severely impacted by U.S. trade measures. Those applications are open today. That fund will provide essential support to companies while helping them pivot towards new domestic markets and opportunities inside and outside of Canada. So these targeted investments and incentives not only provide immediate relief to businesses, but they'll help Ontario businesses build long-term resilience, safeguarding thousands of jobs. Together, these efforts form the bedrock of our government's strategy for economic development. But as always, there's more work to be done. We must continue to foster the right market conditions for business to thrive by continuing to cut red tape, and thank you, Peter, keeping tax rates competitive to attract new economic opportunities for the people of Ontario. So to everybody here today who are playing roles in this story of the resilience of Ontario's manufacturing sector, we thank you for your dedication, your contributions, your partnerships, and we look forward to continuing this journey alongside you. And with that, please welcome Minister Crawford.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to have Minister Bethlenfalvy and Minister Fedeli right here in my home riding of Oakville. And since 2018, since our government was elected to power, we've created an environment for hundreds of thousands of jobs to be created in this province, including many, many manufacturing jobs. But that is now threatened. With the Trump administration's illegal and unjustified tariffs, it's putting our manufacturing renaissance in jeopardy. And that's why this announcement today in Ontario will help us remain a competitive jurisdiction to attract, retain, and reshore manufacturing jobs. I'd like to wrap up by thanking Mayor Rob Burton for being here today, for Halton Chair Gary Carr, and for my friends from Promation and Entropy, both great Oakville companies. So with that, we'll now have time for questions.
Thank you. We'll now turn it over for reporter questions. I would just ask you to identify yourself by name and outlet, and as a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up.
Hello, my name is Kelly. I'm with CHCH News. This question is for both of you, if you could answer. On Truth Social, President Trump has recently threatened the film production industry, which is very popular in Hamilton. We see film crews all the time in Hamilton producing films there, as well as in other areas across Ontario. What your initial reaction to this? What kind of impact would this have on Ontario?
Well, first off, every day brings something new, and we're gonna just continue with our strategy. The film and TV tax credit to industry has been built up over decades. We have a very competitive product here in Ontario. We have great workers and talented people to be able to produce world-class film and TV productions. But that's why it's so important. Announcements like today and our Protect Ontario strategy, which we campaigned on in February and got elected on, is to provide the supports for businesses as we transition to a new economy. This is, as many have said, we are now moving forward into a new world economy. And when I think about Ontario, I think we have incredible strengths here in Ontario, starting with our natural resources, whether it's critical minerals or energy, our workforce, skilled trades, college, university system, to our great manufacturing base here that is producing world-class products right here in Oakville for distribution and keeping people employed over 30 years. So congratulations. So we're going to do what it takes to make sure that we support businesses. We've announced $11 billion of cash flow support, $9 billion in deferred taxes, and $2 billion in WSIB premiums, which goes right into the pocketbooks of the businesses who are hiring and retaining the workers.
This would be if this threat becomes a reality, it's a 100% tariff on this industry here in Ontario. Would those credits apply to them?
This credit that we announced today is for manufacturing. Obviously, we have a range of things that we've announced already, which is going to help businesses like film and TV. There are many industries that are under attack, and we have to face reality that this is a policy choice coming out of south of the border. We're going to work closely with the democratically elected Liberal minority government. The Prime Minister is heading to Washington today to negotiate on behalf of all Canadians, including Ontarians, and we'll work side by side to get the best deal for not just Ontarians, but all Canadians.
And Minister Fedeli, if you could your reaction to Donald Trump's Truth Social post about these threatened tariffs.
Well, I think Minister Bethlenfalvy's comments are pretty inclusive of how we feel, but I will say our offices and the Premier especially, speaking on U.S. media directly to the American public, has really helped Canada and specifically Ontario, helped us with these tariffs. We have seen the extent of the tariffs at the beginning and where we are today are quite different. So we'll suit up again for yet another assault, and this one is in the film industry. I have a particular interest in North Bay. We had, I think, 12, I call them the Christmas kissy face movies with Danica McKellar. She's like the house band in North Bay. She's there so often filming these. We have beautiful western town that was built to film When Hope Calls. So this is a direct assault to our film sector all through Ontario in all of the beautiful communities throughout the Ontario. So we'll suit up just like we have for every other particular mention of a tariff. Head back down to Washington with our great Agent General David Patterson, who's joining us and the Premier on all of these attacks and fight them one by one. And but reasonably successful fighting them one by one. And we've got a long way to go and a lot more acreage in front of us, but we'll add this one to the list now. I think it's you.
Hi, Ministers. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. Just to follow up on that issue, are you suggesting that if the president goes through with this, and we don't even really know how it would work, but if the film industry here is punished in some way, that you would prop up the industry with more subsidies? Like, how exactly would you save them, quote unquote?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's he made that announcement on social media. You know, I think in Pickering we have the largest backlot, I think, film studio in Canada. So a lot of production takes place right across our province, including North Bay and all those great Hallmark movies that he's referring to. We have an incredible, footprint in the film and TV industry. But that's why we did things like the $11 billion. That is not targeted at one particular industry. That's for any company that pays provincially administered taxes that they can defer up to $9 billion of tax. The $2 billion for WSIB, what we're announcing today for manufacturing, and of course we'll have a lot more in the days to come and leading up to the budget, which we'll be tabling on May 15th.
Okay, thank you. And Minister Fedeli, you mentioned the upcoming trip to Washington tomorrow with Prime Minister Carney. How is Ontario involved in that discussion at all? Have you spoken with the federal government about what kind of outcomes you would like to see from that meeting? And I'd love to hear from both of you.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Minister Fedeli in a second. You know, one thing is the Premier has been very clear. We'll work with the democratically elected government in Ottawa. So we've been engaging with all our counterparts. François-Philippe Champagne is still Finance Minister. I spoke with him on the weekend a number of times to talk about our strategy because we got to be attached at the hip. Those conversations are continuing, office to office, and I'll let Minister Fedeli expand on that.
I would say ditto. My counterpart is Minister Anita Anand. We continue to have conversations. Obviously, this is a federally led mission to President Trump tomorrow, and so we're looking forward to a positive outcome. Well, our end goal is to have zero tariffs in Canada, basically to put a ring fence around North America. We've made case after case after case of how our two jurisdictions are so linked that it is almost impossible in many cases to separate them. I'll deal specifically with auto or auto parts. And I think we've been relatively pleased with how the results are coming out on the auto parts sector especially. I say that is because of long-standing discussions with the U.S. September, October, November, all the way to last week to talk about how you can't unscramble an omelet. We are really interlinked on our parts, and so it would be so very, very difficult to be able to put a tariff on parts. And I think that's one of the sectors that we're growing from.
This will be the last reporter question.
Hi, Mr. Bethlenfalvy. My name is Lucas from the Oakville News. Question for you is, why did you choose Oakville specifically to hold this conference?
Well, that's a great question. Why did I choose Oakville? Why not? I mean, it's a tremendous activity going on here in Oakville. What a great success story right here in Oakville with two great companies, two great leaders. I think the founder, Mark, is here. He's got a cold. Yeah, there he is. But what a great success story. Mark, I think from Poland, if I'm correct. I'm the son of Hungarian refugees, and I'm standing before you. This is a great, the greatness of our country that, other than Indigenous, everyone came from somewhere else, that you can live the Canadian dream, you can build a successful company that risks capital, but hires workers, has a product that is competitive, has sustainability over 30 years. And I think Oakville is just another fantastic community right across the province, right across Canada, where you can have success stories like here. So, and of course, the charm of Stephen Crawford, the MPP.
Thank you. That now concludes this press conference. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.